quiet seaside town, an evil laid to rest centuries ago, has risen. An abandoned fortress deep in the swamp holds a secret that could save the village or destroy it. Now, a band of adventurers sets out to dig up the wounds of the past and bring the light of day to the roots of ruin. This is Tabletop Gold.
Hello and welcome, friends, to Tabletop Gold 62. My name is Lars Castine. I'm the host and game master on this podcast, and we are having a good time over here, everybody. And when I say everybody, you may be surprised to learn that everybody includes the other four people who are on this podcast. Let's meet them, shall we? Yes, let's shall. Armatt Humphreys is here, coming to us straight from San Antonio, Texas.
Hello.
The Las Vegas of the border. No?
That's exactly what they say. Yeah.
It's got a nice river walk, right? There's a special river that you can go to, and there are tourists there.
It does.
Probably buy some t-shirts.
It feels a little like Pirates of the Caribbean to me every time I go down there, because it's like an adult version of like that, except everyone's just like drinking and going on little float boat rides down it. It's fun. Yeah.
I am envious of you. I have not gone anywhere or done anything in quite some time. You know who is somewhere and is doing something, though, is Zoe Chernikoff.
Hello, it's me. Good other time.
Good other time to you, coming to us live from Richmond, Virginia. David Chernikoff is here, not from Richmond, Virginia. That was confusing. He's in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
And Robin is here as well.
Robin. That's me. That's what they
From
call me.
Queens.
Hi, good that time. In
Good
Queens.
that time to you. Good that time to everybody listening to this, whatever time it is that you're listening to it.
It's that time.
It's that time again. Oktoberfest is here again. Okay. So
Oh, yes.
John?
Hello.
Did you guys ever listen to any Oktoberfest music? Like, did you ever listen to a Roll Out the Barrel? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Roll
every
Out the
time I'm
Barrel?
in my car, that's what I listen to.
Are you a big Oktoberfest head? Are you a festy?
A
Do you know what I'm talking
I
about?
do. I do love
I
a
love
good
that.
fest. That's true.
Have you ever heard the song Roll Out the Barrel?
I do know what song you're talking about.
Okay,
yes.
I'm going to play a little bit of it.
Roll out the- Wait,
It's
no,
not
that's the one.
responsible beer drinking in das Auto.
Yeah, so here's Myron Florin's version of
Yeah.
Roll Out the Barrel.
Kind of a polka-y.
Yes, this is off of the album Polka's 20. It's not Polka's 20 greatest hits. It's Polka's 20 hits. It's the 20
It's just among
significant
some
polka
of
songs.
They were
middle
gonna
of
do
the
a greatest
road.
Charted at one point.
They were going to do greatest hits, but it was only 3 tracks. It just felt bad charging for it. So they just gave you everything.
I want to amend this slightly. This album is called Polka's no apostrophe 20 hits. They Don't Get No Better is the name of this album. And I
That-
agree with that.
It's pretty declarative.
Feels like it cuts both ways.
Well, it's a double negative, so
They get a lot better.
they get
Polka's
right.
20
They're hits. They're not the greatest.
Well, friends, we are probably just going to get straight into our game today. It seems like we have tapped that particular vein of exciting banter. So
Hold on.
We got some other fun shit to
Check.
talk about.
what do we? Oh yeah, we do. One of the reasons why we're going to get straight into the game is if you heard last week's show, you know that everybody has hit level 5, and as has become a Tabletop Gold tradition, when we do level ups, we tend to get into it quickly. We do a short polka break, then we get into the leveling up.
Oh, new tradition.
It's just the way. Should we make that? We probably should.
I kind of
right?
love this
Yes.
new tradition.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little level up polka, a little
Polka up.
polka up.
Polka dolka.
Before we get into our level up choices and continue playing our game, I want to take a moment to thank everybody who has left a review of Tabletop Gold at their podcast app of choice. My naked child has just walked into the room. How you doing, bud?
Hey!
You doing okay?
You actually can't tell he's nude, to be fair.
Yeah. I
Interesting.
assumed he was diapered.
All
So
right.
when we record during the day, it's Lars's children who roam around.
That's right. Guys, we have to get back on track. We can't just spend 2 hours talking about my child.
Can we?
I want to take a
Different
moment to thank
podcast.
everybody who has left a review of Tabletop Gold at their podcast app of choice. Like, for instance, Jethro Tundra, who left a review on Apple Podcasts, who also suggests that our show is family friendly, just like we heard from the other day. So I guess that's the niche that we're getting into. And they compare us favorably to something called Critical Role, which is a show that I've heard
Hey.
of, but I don't know much about. But
I'll take that.
I deeply appreciate
yeah.
it. And
That's a
thank you
great
so much for
comparison.
leaving that review.
Thank
It's
Seriously.
all reviews, especially ones that compare us favorably to extremely successful people, are appreciated.
Is Pathfinder 2nd Edition family friendly? Maybe we save that for another intro.
Yeah, I don't. Well, it depends on what you do in the game. If you do
mean-
anything, probably not.
If you open a bake shop with some kobolds,
There
some
we
of us
go.
are trying.
That's the one.
At Gen Con, they have you can do Pathfinder Academy, which is specifically geared towards younger players.
Oh,
Wow.
that's awesome.
And you're going to Gen Con this year.
I am. Although when this airs, it'll be well past Gen Con.
You will have and gone and
I will
As
have
the
gone. I
Deutsch
will
say.
have gone to Gen Con. I'm so excited. I love Gen Con.
You know what? Before we do anything else, let's do level up talk. Everybody hit level 5 in talking to
What?
the ghost of Otari Ilvashti. This is something that before we get into level up choices, this is something I kind of want to just like talk about broadly. When you're playing a game like this, there are often 2 level up approaches that you can take. You can either do XP based leveling, in which case every encounter or quest or challenge or whatever that you overcome gives you a certain number of experience points. When you hit 1,000, you get a new level. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is instead milestone leveling, which says that when you meet certain story thresholds, you level up, which can create circumstances like this one where you guys are hitting level 5 pretty quickly after level 4 because you so quickly sought out and investigated the story turn that the adventure path recommends for hitting level 5, which is having this conversation with Otari.
It was very charitable of you to describe us choosing to go down a garbage chute as seeking something out. I like that.
Well, whether it's luck or
Thanks,
whatever
Meg.
else, it does give the story a certain contour, which I enjoy.
That conversation was very emotional. Even though Trill is very quiet during it, the revelations were very emotional for both me and Trill, by the
Agreed.
way.
Yeah,
agreed.
for sure.
There will be repercussions.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, how
I'm
dare
sorry.
you,
I'm
Lars.
sorry. We did it. The way that I'm sort of thinking about it is because of the extra insights that you've gained from sort of putting the pieces together with Otari, whether it was intentional or not. It's like you guys are now more prepared to handle the challenges of this immediate area. And I think that's like a lot of fun. I kind of think that's more fun than just sort of chipping away at a bunch of experience points. Let me have 1 second to close this door. I want to close this door.
Imagine your kid just wandering around.
Just
Like
like
this.
interrupting.
Yeah, like
Outrageous.
you've asked them not to. It's not an appropriate time to.
And my understanding is children are normally great respecters.
Yeah,
of
they're really good with
Yes.
directions.
Yeah, right.
You just have to explain the rules to them.
And you only have to do it once.
Yes.
Yeah.
Believe,
And they
believe
get
it
it.
or not, that was my impression before having them. How stupid is that?
Okay. Let's do it. Let's talk about level 5 stuff. As is our tradition after we do our level up polka break. We tend to go around the table and kind of talk about what it is that people have gained from getting a new level. Does anybody want to go first to talk about level 5 choices?
Yeah. So this was a fun level up for Vadim. I got a lot of good stuff for him. The big thing was I got weapon expertise. So my proficiency went for simple and martial weapons went to expert proficiency, which is going to be awesome with double slice. For an ancestry feat, I took cooperative nature, which gives me a huge bonus on checks to aid people. I buffed up Vadim's strength, constitution, his wisdom, and of course his dexterity.
So, like last level, you were a little bit frustrated with the options available to you from the champion class.
Yeah, totally.
And this level, it's like you don't really have a lot of champion-ish choices, right?
Right, yeah.
Like it's all just sort of like level 5 is like a big sort of power boost kind of thing. So
Totally.
I guess that sort of that issue is not being exacerbated this time necessarily.
Yeah, totally. And plus, it's going to be fun to have the increased proficiency in weapons. So I'm going to hit more often with the double slice, which is rad. And yeah, and with the bonus to strength, I'll do a little bit more damage, which is good. But yeah, and I've been excited about cooperative nature for a while as a ancestry feat. So I'm excited to give it a shot.
Cooperative nature takes advantage more of being around allies, right?
Totally.
Yes. The short human lifespan lends perspective and has taught you from a young age to set aside differences and work with others to achieve greatness. You get a +4 circumstance bonus on checks to aid.
That's
And I
really
bet this
cool.
means I get to fling dead bodies around unhassled, right?
Yeah, it also says you can't give Norman any shit.
Yeah. Weird
Weird.
sub
That's
rule
just-
that literally
and it's
no
just
game.
like written in by hand at the bottom there. Funny
Yeah.
that.
Thanks, Paizo.
It was a trade-off I tragically had to make. And speaking of Bones and Norman's favorite, and now Trill's favorite things, it seems like with the undead, Vadim boosted his religion as his skill increase, and that's his level up.
Awesome. I think that's going to be great. I think this is a heavy religion adventure. So I'm
Seems
excited
like
to
it
see
might
how it
be.
comes out. Well, speaking of other people, who wants to go next?
I'll go first or next.
Okay.
Second. I'll go second.
David approves of that transition.
I loved it.
Okay, Zoe. So Norman and Ao, what are we talking about?
What are we talking about here? Let's talk big news first. For an
Yeah.
ancestry feat, I have gone with the Kitsune Spell Mysteries feat, which lets me get access. Each day I get to pick between one of Bane, Illusory Objects, or Sanctuary. So a new little spell. Having gone 7 episodes being unable to use my first spell, I'm looking forward to not using any of these as well.
We had a conversation about should these spells, these innate spells that that Norman is getting from Kitsune Spell Mysteries be usable. We decided to let that, this is an innate thing that Zoe's character is able to tap into because of being a Kitsune. We're going to give this spell to Zoe for this day.
And look forward
So.
to my using it somewhere around episode, 78. It will probably actually come into play, making this decision basically irrelevant.
Great. Perfect.
For my new skill feat, I've taken, Lars has allowed me to opt into Escape. So right now I don't actually own a deck of cards to make use of it, but look forward to some fun with Norman running around causing chaos with a deck of cards once he can get his hands on one. For skill increase, I have boosted Thievery. I feel like after Norman got to meet Otari and maybe after he gets his mitts on that lockpick kit, I like the idea that he's a little better at stealing stuff than he has been. Although, to be honest, he hasn't been that bad. If he does say so himself. And then I have boosted Con, Wisdom, Dex, and Charisma.
Yeah, this is I think, just in terms of the ability scores, a really big level for you because you're playing a rogue with this Eldritch Trickster racket, which is like pretty widely regarded as a difficult character to be really effective with, in part because it asks you to to have invested a lot of your points into boosting both dexterity and charisma,
Right.
which has meant that you've been slightly behind on the math for the first 5 levels here. And now that you've gotten these ability boosts, you're now on par with everybody else on both dexterity and charisma. Typically, like the way that, and this is a criticism often of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, that like the game really wants you to have an 18 in your primary skill at level 1. And because you have 2 primary skills, you had 2 skills at 16.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Now I'm really excited to see how different things feel with this character, because the like multifaceted, incredibly like talented thing that this system does well for rogues, I think is going to be on display more and more and more and more from this point forward. After having sort of lagged behind a little bit, like I feel like this character is one just like mechanically that develops in a way that really like blossoms in a way that I think is going to be very interesting to see, because this is my first time seeing a rogue in this game, so I'm excited to see it all kind of come together.
I feel like the TLDR on Norman level 5 is now as great as he's always thought he's been.
Well, getting there anyway.
Like really, I'm super pumped to see how the dynamic changes. Speaking of dynamic changing, let's talk about the musician of the group, Trill Fiss Huddlelob.
Dynamic chord, sure. So, level 5, Trill. So for her ancestry feat, I chose Gnome Obsession, which is always a fun one because I got another lore in there. And for her other lore background, I chose Haunt. Haunt lore.
Woo! And like the way that lore works in this game, this is something that maybe doesn't come out typically in play, but you know, lore has limited use. It's great for earning income and it's good for recall knowledge checks. And the idea is because lore is more narrowly focused than any of the other skills, the DC that you're targeting on recall knowledge checks is substantially lower. And that's usually there to make up for the fact that your lore skills are probably not going to get trained all that much. So the fact that Gnome Obsession automatically upgrades these 2 lore skills from, to expert at level 2 to master at level 7 means like Trill is, with this one ancestry feat, suddenly going to kind of know everything about haunts and wisps.
Yeah.
Like if you get unlucky, you get unlucky. But I think the way that lore manifests itself at the table is like, oh, this person really, like, it makes the character really feel like an expert, and I'm excited to see that.
And
as
I
well.
never have to give attention to them again.
Right.
As far
you don't
as
need to invest anything else in them.
That's
I'm
awesome.
So excited about that. Then for a boost, occultism, obviously. And
Skill boosts, yes.
Yeah, always boost that. Occultism's always good. Then with my ability boost, so that was my skill increase.
Yes.
My ability boost, I went for strength, dex, charisma, and then also decided to up my intelligence, or Trill's intelligence, which allowed me to also then increase her religion. Because, man, it's been real frustrating only having poor Vadim be the only one who knew anything about religion. You know, Trill's been reading a lot of weird books recently as we've been wandering through the library level. So it makes sense that maybe Trill's learned something.
So it feels like this level for Trill is like she is having breakthroughs. She is suddenly realizing the nature of the world.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Her horizons are getting expanded.
Oh, yes. She's exploring the deeper, darker parts of her true nature as well.
Hey, we all are these days. You kidding me?
And she got some real fun 3rd level spells as well. One of which was Ghostly Weapon.
Okay.
Which is a great one because it's helpful to everyone except for her.
In keeping with the Trill tradition.
Yeah, it helps everyone else because it makes everyone else's weapons more useful against ghosts. And the other spell that she took, I'm going to keep a secret for now.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, because that'll be a fun one when it pops up. Oh, and one other thing. Also, I got rid of TKP. Trill no longer has TKP.
Interesting. I guess we'll see what Trill has instead, won't we?
Yeah, she retrained it.
Nothing. She just wanted to get rid of it.
Yeah.
It was a burden.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Magdaruna.
Yeah.
Yeah, so David, what's up? What did Mag get here on level 5 aside from 1 billion hit points?
Yeah, so here at level 5, Mag is going to multi-class into Druid and start getting into
very good.
primal spells.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
checks out.
I'm just kidding, everyone. Just getting bigger and hitting harder. All right, so ability boost to strength, constitution, charisma. I'm going to try to get my intimidation game going a little bit more. Which is to say probably the same number of checks as before. I just might occasionally pass one. And then
Okay.
a boost. We'll see. No promises.
You never know. That's why you play the game.
Exactly. And intelligence is the last ability boost.
Oh.
For the skill boost, I'm boosting intimidation. So we're doing the charisma thing. We're doing the intimidation thing. We're really going to try to get in the heads of some adversaries in addition to getting in their, I guess, bodies.
Bodies?
Yeah, guts with my sword.
Intimidation is now Mag's second best skill. She has a plus 13 to athletics and a plus 11 to intimidation, which is nothing to sneeze at, for sure.
Yes. In fact, it's possible with enemies that are lower than her level, her sneezing might in fact intimidate them at this point. We'll see.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that might be. Oh no! Because of the intelligence boost, I also am getting a skill boost to society. I wanted to boost something that I already had, that I was like crafting that I was already using, but unfortunately, this one is I can only lift it up to trained. So I was kind of reaching around in the grab bag, and I think society both felt right for Mag, who's not going to get into magic stuff or like thievery or stealth exactly, but who's, I think, horizons have been broadening through this adventure, and who's sort of like more tuned into a wider sort of slice of the world. And it's also been a little bit of not exactly a hole in the party, but we've had a couple of times, I think, where we needed society and we were all a little bit equally kind of all Spider-Man memeing at each other of who was going to go first. So now if we come across another one of those, Mag will be at least a little bit more equipped to handle it.
Yeah, I really like that idea that this skill boost is sort of telling the story of Mag just being exposed to to other people and to the town and
more curious about it. Like she's been in one town with one sort of creation myth that she has been in the process of learning is in fact a myth. And now with this last conversation with Otari, her world and her mission is expanding to include Absalom and to include, whatever Belcora's next designs would be, or her prior designs would be that are still alive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that covers everybody. People are wondering how I've improved, and the answer is I haven't. So why don't we get into our game, friends? You've just borne witness to a truly dispiriting event. As you were attempting to exorcise the spirit of the ancient adventurer Otari Ilvashti, the fear of several centuries of torment cleared from his mind, and he had a memory of the moment that sealed his doom. The moment when, in the heat of battle, his friend, Zarmavdian the Wizard, struck him down with a fireball. In the fury that followed this memory, a strange force grabbed a hold of the ghost and pulled him down deep into the rock, leaving the four of you in a natural cavern with little more than the sound of slowly dripping water and a story of Otari's demise that differs significantly from the historical record. And here you are, like I said, in this cavern, a damp underground cavern. You've just seen this event happen. What would you like to do?
Trill's lute hangs kind of limply in her hands. She had been playing it as they were trying to soothe Otari, and her lute had helped clear his mind to see more clearly what had happened as he then started to recount what Zarmavdian had actually done. And being the main spellcaster of the group, she's shaken to hear what had happened. To hear that Zarmavdian, this somewhat mysterious character from the past, to hear that he had seemingly betrayed Otari. Trill looks around at the group.
Didn't Karlth say that Zarmavdian mysteriously disappeared? That no one really knows what happened to Zarmavdian? That after the other two settled Otari, Zarmavdian went off and no one really knows what happened to him. And why would he sacrifice Otari? This is terrible.
Seems like everyone around here has trouble controlling light.
Sacrifice may be too kind a word. As he was pulled under, Otari was calling out betrayer. I wonder, could Zarmavdian have had some unseen motive?
Could Zarmavdian have been working with Belcora? Could Zarmavdian have cast a spell that helped her become a ghost or undead? Or is he the reason that she's still here haunting this place?
Or perhaps he wanted her out of the way so he could take it for himself.
Oh, this just keeps getting more and more complicated the further down we go.
I mean, you can see the appeal of controlling that light, right? Can't we all imagine it? Just abstractly, like if you think like, oh, it'd be so cool to have this all-powerful weapon to use for good stuff or to help people, right? It's just like when you think about it, you can. What about those lockpicks?
Trill shakes her necromancy staff at Norman.
Norman begins rummaging through the skeleton.
You worry me sometimes. Not just sometimes, more often than not, let's be honest.
And Norman turns around and like puts his chin on his fist and does a little.
Under her breath, Mag mutters, I feel like sometimes he doesn't worry me.
Well, whatever the case, perhaps we should heal up before we keep moving on.
Oh, does anyone need healing?
So it sounds like Norman, while healing starts, which is one of my favorite songs, While Healing Starts. It's a boudoir jam. Cutting that. So Norman takes a look at Otari's remains, where the ghost of Otari had indicated his thieves' tools were. And in looking through this armored skeleton that you noticed from a distance where this green light initially rose from, you do find these thieves' tools that to Norman look like the typical high-quality thieves' tools. They're what they're called infiltrator thieves' tools that he has seen previously, except these clearly are ancient and carry with them the extra added significance of having belonged to Otari. Norman also notices that Otari's armor seems to be in pretty good condition. There is a nice-looking dagger on his side, and there is an odd-looking key affixed to his armor as well.
We like keys.
Who needs armor?
Not Trill.
Is it leather? Because I think Vadim could potentially add more of his dex bonus if it is.
This is studded leather armor, so you can add 3 of your dex.
Well, right now I have this chain shirt, which is the same thing. So
I assume it's too heavy for me.
It'd be pretty cool to put Norman in Otari's armor if that's the Rose Guard mapping scheme that we're fixed on.
Can I wear it?
Yeah, so Norman can wear it, but there are going to be some consequences.
Okay.
It wants a studded leather armor. You need a strength of 12 to wear really effectively. If you don't have that strength of 12, you can still wear it, but you'll take a -1 penalty to a number of skill checks because it's bulkier than you're able to take on. The other option is if there were to be something magical about this armor, who knows, who's to say, you could potentially transfer any number of theoretical but as yet unidentified runes from that armor to something that you can wear.
Like my non-studded leather
Right.
armor.
Yeah.
So Norman sort of looks at it and he's like, I think this is heavy for me, but Trill, I don't know. I'm getting a tingly sense. Is there something going on with this armor? I mean, it was Otari's. And while she's doing that, he pockets the key. There's something shiny here. It's a key. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah, so Trill does her thing.
Trill takes a look at this armor, and you can give me one of those skill checks that I've just thrown into chat. Yeah, absolutely. Trill immediately recognizes this as pretty standard +1 studded leather armor. It's armor with a boost to armor class.
This is pretty good armor.
I guess Vadim's busy with healing, so he wouldn't be looking at stuff right now. Sorry.
I think that your healing may in fact be done right now. You're just going to do lay on hands, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Great. You do it. You're healed. Wow.
So I'm tempted to do a thing where Norman puts on the better armor for now, if a bit of a pratfall situation, but
Sure.
so Norman's like, I don't know, let me try it out. Let me see how it feels. I got this. I'm strong enough, even though he's clearly a bit burdened by it. Hey Mag, while we're getting all outfitted, how have those hand wraps been working out for you?
I suppose I haven't had occasion to strike anything myself since we came across them.
I've just been thinking, like, you're sort of the most, you know how you're like the most trustworthy member of our party? Like, we can always count on Mag, you know, we're here to support you, but like you're always in the front and making sure we're safe.
I think I follow.
Well, I was just thinking, like, I just pocketed this key and I didn't tell you guys anything about it. Like, you'd be much better at hanging on to this key that I just found.
Wait.
Here, look, it's old. I don't know. Otari had it on his corpse. But I think it's going to be hard for you to hold with those wraps all around your hands.
Wait, you just pocketed a key from Otari?
I know. I can't be trusted with a key. So I'm thinking we trade.
I see. So this was a roundabout way of you're asking me for something.
Yeah. Trading.
You're asking me to trade.
That's right.
I'd be happy to trade with you, Norman, if you'll trade me something in return.
And he's holding the key like that's the obvious item, waiting for her to.
I'd like for you to ask me nicely.
Oh, sure, Mad Girl. And Norman like stretches out and bows deeply. Dearest friend, travel companion, and adventurer.
And I'd like for you to ask me quickly.
Could I please try those hand wraps? I'm feeling like my foxfire is growing, and I mean the fire that comes out of my hands. I just think maybe I want to see what it can do if I try those wraps. Could I try it?
Since Norman dropped into the, I don't even know what the swashbuckler's bow, Mag has been slowly unwrapping the hand wraps from her own hands.
I imagine her like disdainfully looking down.
Yeah. And having now finished, she holds them up to Norman at a similar angle to how Norman holds the key and says, "Same time, Norman?"
Same time?
All right, let's do a dexterity contest. It's not a thing that this game has in it, but let's figure it out. Let's go.
All right. Okay.
Just kidding.
Mag smiles sort of shyly, just without needing for the exchange to be simultaneous. She tosses the hand wraps of Mighty Blows to Norman.
And Norman, clearly not all that invested in his act of kindness for an item he didn't care very much about, begins sort of like a kid with a lighter. He just starts like, now that he's put the hand wraps on, kind of like excitedly, like a present, and he's just kind of like zapping into the water with his foxfire. Zip, zip. Ooh, zip, zip, zip.
I think it's possible that as Norman is doing that, as this trade is completed, Vadim, having completed his healing, potentially would be interested in the things that are remaining in on the remains of Otari.
Yeah, and I think the dagger would probably especially draw his attention right off the bat.
Well, if Vadim is interested in trying to identify this, you can make any of the checks that I just put into the chat.
Yes, please. I'm going to try a religion check now that I'm an expert in it.
Ah,
Let's see
look at
how-
you. Okay, so Vadim is able to identify this as a dagger of venom.
Ooh.
The serrated blade of this +1 striking dagger has a greenish tinge, and the hilt is sculpted to look like the head of a serpent about to strike. When you critically hit with the dagger, the target has to make a DC 19 fortitude save or become sickened. Also, once per day, you can, as a free action, activate the dagger to inject it with venom, to inject your target with venom, which can potentially enfeeble them and do poison damage to them.
Yeah, I think Vadim gets pretty excited about this.
Shit, I want that.
undead, is my understanding, are immune to poisons. It's not a very effective tool, but, this is a pretty nice dagger.
I bet it's good for making undead.
Yes, but I do try to avoid doing that, Norman. I don't know if you've noticed that in our conversation.
Yeah. And you should zip, zip,
Yeah.
zip into the water.
Totally.
That's pretty cool. I kind of want that.
Do you want to do a roll off? Are we rolling off? Are we rolling for it?
No, it's just cool.
It is cool.
It is cool.
The old double slice with a poison dagger, though, is fun.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So that means that the one thing left behind on Otari's remains are his thieves' tools.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm taking this.
Oh, okay.
That
Yeah.
felt obvious.
Very, very good. And with that, you get the feeling that you have gotten everything off of Otari's skeleton, and now that his spirit has been pulled deep underground, any real sign that he was here seems to have subsided.
Well, perhaps we ought to keep exploring this level and see if we can find the way down. I don't feel good about the way he vanished. Those tendrils seemed as though perhaps they were affecting his... I don't even know if such a spirit can be said to have a mind, but...
I feel like he's being tortured.
I think before we leave, Mag would ask Vadim if we can find our way down further, find our way to Otari's spirit, find a way to put it to rest at last, to bring him final peace, would we need his remains?
You know, I don't know about putting his spirit to rest, but I certainly think it would be nice, and I'm sure the town would appreciate us returning his body and providing, again, a burial. Whether or not it's for him, I think for the town it would be a great coup.
And if you need someone to give a eulogy when we do that.
And Vadim starts to laugh and says, Norman, you're the only person I would nominate for it.
And Mag drops to a knee and she takes the bedroll out of her pack and begins gathering Otari's bones carefully as she's done anything, in the bedroll, just gingerly and securely packing them into a single, and then rolls it all up at the end like a sacred taquito.
Sacred. Nice to have the episode title out of the way.
Yeah,
Just so we
there
have
it
the
is.
episode.
Sacred taquito.
Taquito.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't.
Yeah, sure. Let's do the sacred taquito hero point.
Beautiful.
Well, I'll take it.
Well, I feel like Norman would want to keep exploring. It seems like there's more to this natural cavern, that it extends north.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Vadim would follow.
So you walk north through the cavern that was used as a disposal area, underneath where this garbage chute emptied out. You see the rope that you left here dangling out over this pond where the remains of this Otyug are left. And you come to an area with a pond that, as you look at it, seems to be about 15 feet deep. And there are a few things that I want to describe in this area. First off, as you approach the pond, you notice that it is cold and damp. There's water dripping from above every once in a while. Wait.
Wow.
That was
Not bad.
some mouth action you just got
are
there.
That
good at
was
that.
incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it drips intermittently into this lake. There are thick patches of moist mushrooms, some nearly 4 feet tall, growing along the western shore of the lake where you are now. And there's a tunnel that seems to have been carved from a trickle of water that extends off to the southeast. In the middle of the lake itself, there is a 35-foot-long pavilion made of stone, elevated about 10 feet above the water by a dozen stone columns. The entire pavilion is encrusted with damp, pale fungus. From here, I think you can see just at the edges of your light that the pavilion has 2 exits, one off to the east and one off to the north. In the middle of the pavilion, you can see that there's a faintly flickering campfire you can see the light from as you're looking up at this pavilion. You see that it's smoke from the campfires collecting in the ceiling of the pavilion, which you can see pretty clearly. The western shore of this lake, where these 4-foot-tall mushrooms are, continues along the side of this cavern, and there seems to be a tunnel leading off to the northwest, away from this room. So, that's a lot of stuff. I'm going to recap. There's a tunnel leading off here to the southeast. There's this pavilion with a campfire on it. And there's this tunnel leading off to the northwest. And then on the elevated platform where the pavilion is, there are a couple more doors leading off. So, what do you think?
I'm kind of interested in the campfire myself, but I'm amenable to explore anywhere.
I feel like that would, I think this lit fire in an abandoned cavern would catch everyone's interest. Lars, can Norman's mage hand, given how up the platform is, can he reach that campfire to kind of like check it out, see if there's anything he can like sense about it?
I think that you can send the mage hand to the edge of the pavilion and then go from there. But because the campfire is out of sight, you're really just seeing the light and the smoke from the campfire.
Smoke.
It's going to be a little hard to get exactly to the campfire, but you can certainly start exploring from the edges of the pavilion.
All right. I feel Norman's mage hand is sort of like a sentry, like as close as he can get it along the edge, and as they get closer, he can send it in front of them.
Sure. When you cast mage hand, you can choose whether you want it to be invisible or not invisible. Is that correct?
I think it's always invisible. Oh, I see. Invisible or ghost-like. Well, for now it's invisible because, like, I think he's not sure. Like, he's sort of like, could be someone's fire. It's like he's not sure if there's actually someone up there who's lit a fire or what it is.
Got it. So Norman's kind of sending this invisible hand up to feel around to see if there's any reaction, kind of?
Yeah.
Sure. So Norman focuses on this invisible hand, and you hear a yelp as it seems as though your hand has touched something living.
Ooh.
And a moment later, you see a disheveled-looking human man stagger to the edge of the pavilion, squinting into the darkness to get a better look at you. He throws his head back and starts barking and howling, tossing his filthy long hair into the air, revealing a stern, dirty face.
John Mesman.
He's wearing what looks like handmade leather armor all over his body with furs, dirty, filthy furs, maybe from a bear, wrapped around his back and over his shoulders. And the source of that yelp comes into sight a moment later as a wolf, an enormous wolf, comes and stands next to this man, throwing its head back also. Oh! Oh! Joining the man, both of them barking at you furiously.
And Norman begins making a slightly different noise back, but he begins like yipping at them, where as if he's like trying to communicate in this language.
Okay. That sounds to me like it is some kind of social skill check to see if Norman's able to get through to them.
Yeah, it's I think a positive one. Like I think he wants to like genuinely do diplomacy with them.
Cool. So let's get a check to make an impression. Diplomacy.
That's a 27, and Fraum is doing diplomacy today, so 28.
Okay.
Did we just befriend the werewolf?
This man with the long, dirty hair stops barking and howling at you from up on the pavilion and falls silent. And then, a moment later, with a halting voice, as though he hasn't spoken words for quite a long time, he shouts out, "This is my place. You go away. You're not welcome. If you stay, we will kill you," as he tries to get you out of his space with this halting, aggressive talk.
Norman steps one step closer to the water, and as he does so, fur begins covering his body. And he turns into Ao. And he looks up and he says, "We know you're kind, and we're here to help. We only want to get rid of the danger in this dungeon."
I don't know if this is what Ao was expecting his reaction to be here, but he looks deeply hostile.
Oh, yeah, clearly.
He can I get a perception check from you, Zoe?
24.
Okay. 24. gives you a sense that he has one more warning in him, that he is scared, he is crazed. You look in his eyes, and if Ao is animal from the outside with some intelligence on the inside, this person that you're looking at has been here for so long. He looks as though he is just riddled with brutal animal rage throughout every part of him. And you get the sense that if you were to leave him be, he would return to his...
Right, he'd just like forget we came
He'd
through.
return to his campfire, right. But he's panicking right now, and it doesn't appear that there's much that you can do to make him feel as though intruders into his
area
territory are going to be friendly.
So I think my take, and I think this is Ao's as well, would be we're at a total tactical disadvantage, right? Like, we're down from these people. We're going to have a hell of a time hitting them. So even if we want to go fight these fuckers, I think we should pretend that we're doing what he wants us to and pick a way out. And like, see, we know, I think we can tell there's a way into the east, right? We know that, and we know there's one from the north. So we know we'd have other ways to get in there and try and fight them better.
Absolutely. These two doors that you're able to see are on the same elevation as this pavilion that he's standing on.
So I think Ao would say, we understand we are going. We wish you no harm. And do we want to go down to the south or to the north? I feel like she'd probably just walk up to the north, but if people feel differently, we don't need to do that.
Wherever. At this point, Mag has... This is highly... Sure. I mean, Ao is in Ao form, like... and is seemingly communicating and picking up kind of canine vibes from this thing. If Ao says, don't go any further, and starts walking north, Mag is following the leader of the pack here.
We will go this way and leave you be. Yep. Nang nang bonobo.
Nang nang bonobo. Does he speak Undercommon?
The most important of the questions.
As you start tracking your way along this path leading off to the north, you see these large mushrooms intermittently blocking your line of sight from him as you're walking by them. And each time that happens, he snorts a little bit and shifts his head over to the side to make sure that he's keeping a good eye on you. As the wolf next to him is just on the verge of a full-on freakout. The wolf is just like teeth bared, ears up, just like looking towards this man for the moment to attack, which he does not give that order. He does not tell the wolf to attack.
And Ao has one ear back and one ear sort of tuned into them, and her tail is tucked between her legs to indicate some amount of subservience. Mag, do you want to lead the way? Right when they get to the entry of the tunnel.
Mag does as she's told.
So as you slip around the corner, leaving this room with this pond behind you, you're relieved, perhaps, to discover that this tunnel leading off to the northwest leads up. There are stairs. So you are potentially getting back towards the level that this man with the wolf was on. And eventually, this natural tunnel with these stairs carved into it continues up. It eventually leads to a 15-foot wide crumbled wall. And beyond that crumbled wall is more of the ornate stonework that you have seen throughout the portion of this area that was constructed by Belcora. And you pass from the natural tunnel into a wide hall with tall ceilings. And the ceilings reach about 25 feet above you. And there are stone sarcophagi carved with tormented, emaciated figures standing upright in alcoves along the walls of this wide hall. Eerie blue lights glow to the north and to the south. The light to the south is bright and constant, while the light to the north flickers softly.
Do either or both of the blue lights look like the light we have previously seen from the lighthouse?
Yep, same question.
Give me a perception check.
29.
Wow, I like level 5 Norman.
I think you mean level 5 AO?
True. So, when you saw that blue light previously, you saw that it was like a channel of energy. That's not the case in either of these two situations. The light to the south, as AO takes a look at it, is, like I said, static, still, and broad. The light to the north is flickering. Neither one of them are like a channel of steady, fluctuating energy.
Can we see anything beyond the light to the south?
You can see something past the light. It looks like the passageway continues past the light, but that's about all you're able to see.
I wonder, perhaps, since it seems like it continues, if this is not the barrier Otari was speaking of.
Can Trill sense any magic separate from the obvious blue lights?
Trill does detect magic, for sure.
Now, like, obviously the blue light is part of, like, she knows that one.
Wait a minute. You're casting Detect Magic at level 3. Does that do something different? Yes. You learn the School of Magic for the highest level effect within range that the spell detects. So you detect necromancy magic.
Okay, well, I already know that those lights are necromancy magic.
But aside from those lights, if you exclude the lights, which is a thing you can do with Detect Magic, you do detect necromancy.
So there is
magic.
other magic besides from those blue lights.
In which direction?
Sadly, you don't get direction with Detect Magic.
Can I use my Haunt Lore to see if there's a haunt going on anywhere?
Sure. Give me a blind Haunt Lore check.
Cool.
Gosh, it's convenient we leveled up before all of this.
So Trill is looking around for like malevolent bound spirits and does not detect any.
Well, we have no idea though because that was a blind check.
but I will say though that like Trill, in looking around, right, you're probably walking up to things and investigating them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what you would be doing as you're trying to figure out if there's a haunt. You're looking around. So I want to tell you that as you step up to one of these sarcophagi, like for instance the one right in front of you, the stone lid becomes transparent, providing a view of a long dead body within.
Fun.
And this body that you're looking at its clothes have disintegrated to rags, and you see a fatal wound on the neck. And if you were to step up to the next sarcophagus here to the south, same thing, different clothing, different wound, but the stone lid of the sarcophagus becomes transparent, and you see that it's essentially a display case for some sort of fallen person. They all look like warriors. They're all holding weapons, that sort of thing.
Can we recognize, Trill's looking at all, so Trill goes from, Trill starts walking from sarcophagus to sarcophagus, looking at each of these displays. Did they all fall from the same type of wound?
No.
And she's looking at the clothing that they're wearing and trying to go through her memory, recalling knowledge to see if she recognizes anything in her memory about what they're wearing.
Sure, give me a society check.
Ugh. Norman, come help me with this.
Mag just boosted society.
Oh,
Matt, come help me with this.
Yeah, I actually think Ao. I think in Ao's
Oh,
mind,
yeah, it's not Norman now. It's Ao now.
Well, I think she had been thinking she was just going to like switch back to Norman, and then they emerge where these blue lights are, and I think she's like kind of too captivated by the blue lights to have gone back to Norman. Like in my mind, that is what she was going to do in the hallway, but then I think she wouldn't. So I think she's sort of just like looking at the light. I'm not sure that she's doing as much sleuthing as she normally would be. So Mag helping there makes more sense.
So, and also she'd say Norman and then realize Norman's not there. And she goes,
Oh, Mag, come help me with this.
Mag follows, and in particular, based on Otari's information and admonitions, is wondering whether any of these folks might be other members of the Rose Guard.
I was thinking the same thing.
Or like Zoe metagaming is wondering if these are the fallen people who are pissed at Belcora, who then make up the shield that our Matt pointed out.
Right. We might want to not touch their sarcophagi till we're sure.
So which of these sarcophagi is Mag going to take a look at to see if she can draw any historical conclusions?
The one that looks most as though it might be a member of the Rose Guard. No, I don't know.
So it sounds like Trill has looked at this one here and this one here, perhaps?
She went to the third one, and it's by the third one that she calls Mag over. So
this one. So the one about 15 feet south of this tunnel.
Mag will examine them in the same order Trill just has, sort of retracing Trill's footsteps behind her. You want that blind?
Please. Mag knows enough about the Rose Guard, knows enough about the story of the adventurers that came from Absalom to attack Belcora and then founded the town of Otari. None of these bodies here in these strange transparent sarcophagi bear any sort of similarity to any of the Rose Guard in terms of their heraldry or their outfitting or anything like that.
Weaponry,
just
ancestry.
Right.
No dice.
But Mag can tell that these are ancient warriors that if they're not from the Rose Guard, she's able to interpret this as having similar intentions as in doing something like what the Rose Guard eventually did.
Perhaps contemporaries of the Rose Guard, but these three at least, not the Rose Guard themselves.
But maybe we're doing the same thing. So maybe these are the fallen that Otari talked about. The ones, maybe these are Belcora showing off those who she defeated.
So where is Ao going right now?
So I think, she's not moving fast the way that she or Norman have moved before when they've been near the light and sort of been drawn to it. But I think the room to the north, she hasn't gone in there, but she's walked up the hallway where everyone else is investigating because it seems the most like previous versions of the lighthouse blue light, right? It's like a circular room with light in the center.
Yeah, the room that she is following the pathway up towards is a big circular octagonal room with flickering light. I want to paint a picture here. Mag and Trill are a short ways to the south, stepping in front of these sarcophagi with stone slabs that become invisible as they approach. As Ao steps up, looking in this room off to the north, the sarcophagus that she steps next to, furthest to the north on the way into this chamber with the light, the stone slab on it does not turn transparent.
Oh.
I don't know whether she's keyed into what the rest of the party is doing, but perhaps Vadim has enough of a vantage point to see this sarcophagus is different.
Yeah, and I think he's probably like trying to look at the sarcophaguses and the burial practices, see if he knows of any religious rites that this might follow, any sort of funerary practices that he might recognize.
And he's taking a look at that as Norman walks past the sarcophagus, or walks up to the sarcophagus, and there's suddenly a rustling sound behind that stone slab.
And I think at that, Norman, or Ao, who's been distracted by this light and has been sort of wanting to get closer to it, kind of whips her head around.
And the rustling sound stops. and the stone slab starts to shift in front of you for a moment. A small amount of dust raining down from the edges of the sarcophagus. And then, bam! The stone covering flies off and falls to the floor, cracking in half. And the rustling then gets louder as Ao sees that she is looking at the rotting corpse of a warrior, a disturbing red light shining from its eye sockets and mouth. It drags itself out of the sarcophagus, swinging a longsword up over its head. And then, bam! Behind Ao, the sarcophagus on the other side of the hallway also explodes open, and a second of these undead guardians flies out, sword up in the air, just rasping. And we'll pick up from there next time.
I hate society checks. The Roots of Ruin is a Tabletop Gold production, produced under the Paizo Incorporated Community Use Policy. The Roots of Ruin uses trademarks and/or copyrights owned by Paizo Inc., used under Paizo's Community Use Policy. We are expressly prohibited from charging you to use or access this content. Paizo does not recognize, endorse, or sponsor this project in any way. Original characters and content are the property of Tabletop Gold. For more information about Paizo Inc. and Paizo products, visit paizo.com. We at Tabletop Gold would love to hear from you. Email us at letters@tabletopgold.com and find all our social links at tabletopgold.com.